Hey, what's going on, folks? Chris from Cinema Hooked, and today I want to talk about my top 10, my favorite 10 Star Wars characters, whether it's canon, legends, video games, books, whatever. My favorite 10 Star Wars characters in no particular order, because I saw this kind of trending over on the Threads app, which if you have Threads, I would love it if you gave me a follow on there, because I'm trying to connect with more Star Wars fans, and I'd love to know your 10 favorite Star Wars characters. They're not going to be in any particular order, but I will save the last one to be my favorite. So that will be my number one, but I'm not ranking and placing the other ones. And before I dive into that, I just want to say I got a lot of new subscribers from that video I did about Star Wars Celebration tickets, and I read a lot of your stories, and I just want to say I'm really sorry to those of you who had the experience that you had. I hope that Disney / Star Wars / Lucasfilm, they find a different vendor to handle Star Wars Celebration, because I can't believe how fast they sold out, and I feel so lucky. I thought that I had a bad experience, but I got 4 single-day tickets for the 4 days, and some people got maybe 1 day if they were lucky, or once they got in, there was just Thursday and Sunday, and that's just terrible. So I'm sorry. On behalf of Disney, I'm sorry that you experienced that, and that really sucks. I hope you'll go to Star Wars Celebration one day, and that doesn't totally ruin your wanting to go to a future Star Wars Celebration. But let's get into it. Let's talk about my 10 favorite Star Wars characters, and I'd also like to know your 10 favorite characters. So let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe too. First up, I'm going Darth Sidious. I think that he's a very good, very complex villain. The sequel trilogies didn't exactly do him any favors, but I will say, as much as I don't love The Rise of Skywalker, I do love some of the visuals from it. I like how creepy it is when we first get to Exegol. Just the ominous music, him being all creepy and redelivering that line of, that some would consider unnatural. I think that's really cool. Great villain, the Force lightning, playing as him. I loved playing as his character in the Battlefront 2 video game. Lots of fun, but great villain. I want to go back and read some of those Legends books, because I want to see the one where it's about Darth Plagueis training him, which I really hope we get Darth Plagueis in live action again, since we did get that tiny little tease in the Acolyte. So yeah, starting off, Darth Sidious. Maybe this is ranked. I'm just going to call him number 10, Darth Sidious. Number 10. Coming in the number 9 spot, we've got Yoda. Yoda is awesome. Now, the first time we get the introduction to him in Empire Strikes Back, just a really silly old man, really just the comic relief of the original trilogy. But when we go back and we get the prequels, especially when we get to Attack of the Clones, which I still don't like that it gets as much hate as it does, because I really do think it is one of the better Star Wars films. You can debate me in the comments, but I love Attack of the Clones. But Yoda's awesome, and I love that. And aside from people absorbing Darth Sidious's lightning with their lightsabers, Yoda actually being able to capture that force and just dissipate it or redirect it back at the person who cast it. That's awesome. Just super OP. I wish we'd gotten more of him fighting, but he almost took down Darth Sidious on his own. He would have taken down Count Dooku in Attack of the Clones, except, Obi-Wan and Anakin were about to get crushed by that big metal thing in that cave that they were in, so he didn't beat him. But super OP, and not in a bad way, just super powerful, and tiny little guy, tiny little lightsaber, but so powerful and really entertaining, super wise. And especially if you watch the Clone Wars series, there's a couple different arcs that are just about Yoda. And I love the arc where Qui-Gon Jinn reaches out through the Force and teaches Yoda about how he can live beyond his mortal life in his body and be a Force ghost. That whole arc, and then him having the visions and stuff, and him actually having to go to Moraband or Korriban, I can't remember which we're calling it now, but goes back to the Sith planet, has the vision of Darth Bane. Really cool. So number 9, Yoda. Yeah, I feel good about that. In the number 8 spot, I've got Mace Windu, who's just awesome. And also got the purple lightsaber. That's dope as hell. Great character. We don't get a ton of them in the prequels, but again, like Yoda, if you watch the Clone Wars series, we get so much more of Mace Windu. And we also get to travel down that storyline. And I hope, if you haven't watched the Clone Wars, I hope maybe me mentioning it a bunch in this video will get you to watch it, because it seriously is so great. And I was a person that got onto it after the show had ended, pre the final season. There was that long gap before that final season. But after the original show ended, that's when I got into it. But Mace Windu, total badass. And he's so cool in that show. We get so much more of him. But what I was getting at was that him and Boba have a lot of interaction in that show. And it's really cool to see, you know, because we see Boba in Empire Strikes Back. And we saw him, you know, as Jango Fett's son in Attack of the Clones. And in the Clone Wars, we get a lot more of Boba becoming a bounty hunter. Really cool. So yeah, number 8, Mace Windu. Coming in at number 7, I've got Cad Bane. Now, this is a character, again, in the Clone Wars. And I think it's what a lot of the people on this list, they're mostly prominent for the Clone Wars. Cad Bane was just cool. Like, everybody likes Boba Fett or Jango Fett. Yeah, they like the Mandalorian as far as bounty hunters, but Cad Bane, man. Unfortunately, some people will only know him from the Book of Boba, and that's not the best. I mean, it was cool. It was cool seeing him. I remember I was a little underwhelmed when I saw the show, and I was really underwhelmed that he was killed so easily. It's like, man, like you finally bring this character that I've always wanted to see in live action ever since I got introduced to him in the Clone Wars, and he gets killed off, you know, just like that. Like, that's not cool. But in the show, in the Clone Wars, there's so many arcs in that show. Him and Obi-Wan Kenobi, really cool to see. The fact that we got, well, when did he die? He died in The Mandalorian. So I don't see why, if we ever did get an Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2 or something like that, I don't see any reason why we couldn't see Kenobi and Cad Bane. Like, I know he's supposed to be in exile. He shouldn't be going on all these adventures, but I'm totally okay with that. If it means getting a second season, that's better than that first season. No Leia in season 2. If there's a season 2 of that show, just no Leia. Not trying to be a hater, but just no Leia. But that's where I've got number 7, Cad Bane. Really cool. Go watch the Clone Wars. Get familiar with Cad Bane. Coming in at number 6, I've got Asajj Ventress, who is just such a badass. She's so cool. I mean, in the Clone Wars, she's very early on in that show, and her and Kenobi, again, like with Cad Bane, her and Obi-Wan Kenobi, they're back and forth, and their matches and duels against one another are just, it's like top tier. Like, they're so good, and there's so many like just threads and interweaving stories. And that's another person I would love to see if there was a season 2. I'd love to see him have to, because they kind of mend their differences in that show. She starts off as Count Dooku's, you know, not so secret apprentice, because Darth Sidious knows about her, but she's essentially an inquisitor. She just kind of does stuff for Dooku. Sidious allows it, even though Dooku does have the desire to train her up to be able to help him overthrow Sidious. But she's just an awesome character, and there's the story arc with Ahsoka Tano, where Ahsoka Tano's on the run from the Jedi, you know, basically the Republic, and her and Ventress kind of team up to try and help prove Ahsoka Tano's innocence. And then when Anakin finds Asajj Ventress, like that's a great little butting heads right there, because Anakin's already on the brink of like turning to the dark side, and man, when he thinks that she is hurting Ahsoka, and like she's the one that's in league with her and stuff. Oh, such great storytelling. So that's where I've got number 6. I got Asajj Ventress. Awesome character. I hope one day we get her in live action. I would absolutely love to see that. All right, jumping into the top 5 now. At number 5, I've got Starkiller / Galen Merrick. One and the same. Obviously, not a canon character anymore. Some would argue that, and I would be one of those people that would argue that Cal Kestis is sort of a nerfed version of Starkiller. Granted, Starkiller was like, if I said Yoda was OP, Starkiller was like, he'd have like 10 times the midichlorian count of Yoda, because that dude was bringing down Star Destroyers. We thought it was cool when Rey used Force Lightning and took down that little cargo transit on that planet. But dude, Starkiller's bringing down freaking Star Destroyers. And if you ever played those Force Unleashed games, you know how extremely fun they were. They're similar to the Jedi Survivor games with Cal Kestis. Again, another reason I kind of make that comparison, because they're kind of similar stories. They also cross paths with Vader. Obviously, the Jedi Survivor games don't deal with like the cloning the way the Force Unleashed games did, but Force Unleashed, such awesome games. If you can go back and play those, I recommend playing them if you haven't played them before, because they're a ton of fun and you're going to absolutely fall in love with that character. But then you'll also get incredibly mad when you realize that he is not a canon character, but he is portrayed by Sam Witwer. He's voiced by Sam Witwer, and it's so cool. I was so happy when Sam Witwer was brought back into Star Wars to do a lot of the voice acting, because awesome actor, amazing voice actor, and he's amazing voicing Maul. So that's where I've got at number 5. I've got Starkiller, and yeah, in the Maul series, there's that pose that Maul was doing with the lightsabers, you know, kind of pointed up behind his back. I loved that little nod to Starkiller. So cool. If you haven't seen the show yet, please go watch Maul Shadow Lord, because it's awesome. I freaked out about it. Amazing show. In the number 4 spot, I've got Obi-Wan Kenobi. Who doesn't like Obi-Wan Kenobi? Because if you don't like him, I don't think we can be friends. He's an awesome character. He's a conflicted character, similar to Anakin, but Kenobi's much more centered, and he has much more control over his emotions than Anakin does. But Obi-Wan Kenobi, great with a lightsaber, hates flying in space, as we've seen in all the movies, and he's so great in the Clone Wars. If it weren't for the Clone Wars show, my list would be so altered, but we get so much Kenobi in the Clone Wars show, and there's so many good story arcs that really let you see the character better. And also, D. Bradley Baker, the voice actor, did an amazing job doing the voice like Ewan McGregor in the prequel movies. I thought it was just great. His dry sense of humor, hello there, is really good too. But overall, just a great character. I hope we get a season 2. I hope we get a season 2, and I just hope it's amazing. I hope it's great. I hope they can take the bit of good that was in season 1 and just elaborate on that and give us an amazing season 2. If they could just make an amazing season 2, we could move on from the character. But please, I want a season 2. I'm not saying we need it, but I need it. And I think it could be great if they have the right story to tell. Just don't make it have anything to do with Luke or Leia. Like, let him leave Tatooine, let him go. Asajj Ventress is in trouble and he needs to go help her. There's so many different things. Maybe something with Cad Bane. I mentioned before that Cad Bane and him, them having to go against each other. That would be cool for like old time's sake. So yeah, season 2. Would you guys like an Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2? Because I would. What did you think of season 1? Because I'm like, yeah, it's all right. In the number 3 spot, I've got Darth Vader / Anakin Skywalker. They're going to be one and the same in this pick, because both characters are extremely conflicted and both have very different stories. They are technically kind of 2 different characters, especially in the sense that when you watch Empire Strikes Back, you don't know that he's Anakin Skywalker, so they are kind of 2 characters at that moment in time. But Darth Vader, amazing in the sense he's this super scary dark figure, super powerful. Spoiler alert for the Maul series. Hopefully you already watched it, but I'm just gonna say, when he showed up in Maul Shadow Lord, I didn't see it coming. And I don't think he says anything in those 2 episodes that he's in. And it's terrifying. There's no dialogue, even though he's being talked to by Maul. He's just quiet. And the way Master Daki, the way Vader's just slashing down on him, I mean, it's just terrifying. The way he overpowers you with his rage and his physical capabilities with his big robotic body. Just awesome character. And then, you know, going back to kind of the other half of him, Anakin, in the Clone Wars, so awesome to see that development of, you know, he was this boy who was in love with a girl, but you see him slowly build this rage and him questioning the Jedi Order, and it's kind of, I don't know, it kind of sucks. It's like Padme's kind of what led him down the dark side. Like, if he hadn't fallen in love with her, it'd be a whole different story. Which, speaking of that, I would love it if Star Wars adapted what Marvel did in animation with the whole, like, What If series. Like, what if Anakin had beaten Kenobi on Mustafar. What would the galaxy look like now? Does Anakin eventually overthrow Sidious? Him and Padme rule the galaxy together with Luke and Leia? Like, so many cool possibilities that I would love to see portrayed in animation. I mean, ideally live action, but animation would be cool. But Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, just an amazing character, very well written, and I like how Disney, at least in the animation, is using him very sparingly to where we're not getting too much of it, because then it'd be like, all right, you're overusing a great character, and now you're kind of like taking away from the character, because now we're seeing too much. So they're using him just enough to keep it interesting. He was also in Rebels, just awesome character. And I know you're thinking like, wait, you have Vader at number 3? Like, who the hell is in the number 2 and number 1 spot? Let's find out. Coming in at the number 2 spot, and you may have already guessed it, it's Maul. I mean, if you thought Darth Vader, Anakin was a complex, complicated character with many layers, I mean, Maul is right there with him. And that's why it was really hard. I flip-flop between those two, like, which one's which, but I'm going Maul because I think his story is more interesting. Maul's redemption, his revenge, his story, getting cut. And how impressive is it that we see him get cut down in episode 1, cut in half? Oh man, that was such a cool character. Man, I wish we could see him again, but I mean, if they cut him in half, he's dead, right? Right? No, they bring him back in Clone Wars in such a unique and clever way, making him crazy on that waste planet where we find out he's got a little brother, which they did tap into a little bit in the Maul Shadow Lord series. You've got Savage Opress, and that was all cool with the Night Sisters and doing the witchcraft and him having that, there was that amulet that was like leading him to Maul. And when he finds him just losing his mind and him being overly obsessed with Kenobi, gets that weird pair of mechanical legs, and then eventually gets the nice mechanical legs. But having that arc and him and Savage trying to team up together to take down Sidious, all just so awesome. And then we see him in Rebels, and he's kind of an old man, and his lightsaber is like a walking stick, and he's trying to train Ezra. But then we get the final season of the Clone Wars, and he's on Mandalore. We got the stuff with Ahsoka, and then they kind of hint at, the One and how he wants to take. What's crazy is like he wanted to take down Sidious. He wanted to take down Sidious, and which would be Vader and Anakin too. Like he sensed all of that. Obviously, he didn't get to do that. And then we get this Maul Shadow Lord series, and we get that little bit of him when we saw the Solo movies with the Crimson Dawn. So I'm really curious to see the next season of Maul Shadow Lord, because there has to be one. Like, there's no chance that show's not getting a second season. There's no chance. I still would love to see live action Maul. I think that's still a possibility. I would like it in an ideal world, the period of Maul Shadow Lord and Solo is animation. And then I'm hoping we can get a live action adaptation that takes place between the Solo story and where we see Maul in Rebels. Because I think a lot of different things happen in those 2 blocks of time that I would just love to see. I just think Maul is such an amazing character. I really want to see Sam Witwer in the makeup. We know he nails the voice. He is Maul. Ray Park, you're cool. Like, I met you at Star Wars Celebration 9 years ago. It'll be 10 years at this next celebration. I met you randomly. You were walking through the hall when we were all staying overnight to get in for the first Thursday day of the show. But Sam Witwer, I mean, he is Maul. Like, in my eyes, and I think to many fans' eyes, Sam Witwer is Maul. So cool. So that's my number 2 pick. So let's get into my number 1. Can you guess it? I'm going to give you 5 seconds to guess it. You might guess. You might be like, well, he named kind of everyone. But, oh, he didn't name that person. You may have guessed it, Ahsoka Tano. I think Ahsoka Tano is such a cool character. And also, speaking of Ahsoka Tano, hold that thought. It may be hot in my office while recording this, but I just had to throw on my Ahsoka Tano hoodie. Little snips. I absolutely love the character. I think she's super interesting and awesome. And I remember when she got announced that there was going to be live action Ahsoka, and it was Rosario Dawson. I mean, the look she looks amazing. I loved seeing her introduced in The Mandalorian. That was really cool. I really enjoyed her show. There were low moments in her show, but kind of almost everything in Star Wars, especially their series, Maul Shadow Lord being the exception, they've all kind of had their low points, but I'm super, super excited for Ahsoka Season 2. Like, we've got Mandalorian and Grogu coming out, but Ahsoka Season 2, I can't wait for that. Like, I named my first dog Ahsoka 7 years ago, back in 2019. She's Ahsoka. I love the character. I think she's awesome, and I think she's really, really underrated in just exactly how powerful she is. Not to throw a lot of shade at John Campea, but there was this one take he had that always really, really bothered me. But when they were releasing teaser trailers for the final season of the Clone Wars, which was heavily Ahsoka, and we get Maul in that series, he like paused it when he's doing his trailer breakdown thing. He's like, I'm sorry, but Ahsoka Tano's holding her own against Darth Maul. Like, what are we doing here? Are you serious? Like, this, I don't think he used the term woke, but he was basically hinting at, you know, oh, what a joke with this women empowerment stuff. And I'm like, are we just gonna forget that Anakin Skywalker, aka Darth Vader, one of the best lightsaber duelists and one of the most, if not the most powerful Force user in the galaxies, trained her? Like, hello? Are you stupid? Like, there's a reason she's that powerful and that good at fighting. Granted, the lightsaber duels in the Ahsoka show, not the most impressive in the world. I'd like to see, it doesn't need to be Revenge of the Sith, just going crazy on Mustafar levels, but I would like to see not necessarily more acrobatic, but more like, you know, like, let's get in there, like ninjas fighting with swords and stuff. Like, I do want to see a little bit more aggressive of lightsaber battle. I'm tired of people just like talking and holding them and just occasionally striking. I saw A New Hope back when I was a kid. I don't need to see lightsaber battles where they're just, you know, occasionally just hitting each other. It's not fun to watch. And then when they try and do stuff, like, sometimes it like looked like it was in slow motion. I'm bagging on the show, not the character. But I can't wait for season 2. Ahsoka Tano, great character. Rosario Dawson is doing a great job representing her. I like the voice actress who did her in the Clone Wars. Awesome character. But that's my list. Those are my favorite 10 Star Wars characters. I would love to know what your top 10 favorite characters are. You can rank them or you can just list them, but I would love to hear, because I'm sure there's some people that weren't even on my list that are on your list. And of my picks, which of my 10 is your favorite, or is one of my 10 your favorite, and which one of my picks is just ridiculous that you couldn't disagree with more? Let me know down in the comments. And if you like Star Wars content, I am doing a lot more Star Wars content right now because my love of Star Wars was completely just reinvigorated after watching Maul Shadow Lord. I'm just super excited. Got Mandalorian and Grogu coming out. Can't wait. So if you like this kind of content, I'd love it if you hit that subscribe button down there. Hit that little like button like the sign there says. Really helps a very small channel like mine grow. And I hope to see you guys in the comments, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.